Today on Around Kansas, Deb keeps us in the loop on what events are coming up around the state. Next, in our wildlife segment, a fun look at the awesome possum. Then Rocky Downing is visiting with Eric Burks from NCK Tech. Ron Wilson is back with a fun poem about economists. And we finish with special guest Michelle Martin sharing our next Native American Heritage Month story.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich. Welcome to Around Kansas. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are around Kansas. Been a pretty busy November, and of course we just had Veterans Day. And I think here at Around Kansas, we might just celebrate Veterans Day every day this month. How about you? They had the commemoration at Leavenworth, of course, the fort, but the city of Leavenworth has the oldest Veterans Day celebration west of the Mississippi River, and I think the biggest anywhere. It is Native American History Month, so later on in this show, my partner in so many historic crimes, co-author on the Forts and Bases book, Michelle Martin. I think I'm just going to make Michelle a regular contributor to Around Kansas because she does so much cool stuff, has so many cool things to say, and is just so knowledgeable. And even though she is not living in Kansas right now, she knows Kansas history really well. Now, Michelle and I are very excited to be part of the Historic Lecompton lecture series that happens in the late winter at Constitution Hall State Historic Site in Lecompton, run by our very dear friend Tim Ruiz. I believe if all goes well, they are going to kick off January 26th with Governor Laura Kelly. Then I'll be speaking in the middle of the month, and Michelle has the last program in March. So we'll share that with you and make sure you go out and visit Lecompton over the holiday season. Thanksgiving begins the Tree Festival at the Territorial Capitol Museum, just a couple blocks away from the State Historic Site. So Lecompton's got so much to offer. It's one of our favorite small towns, and I believe it was voted the most popular small town in Kansas a couple years ago. So you go over there and tell them hello, and you tell them Deb from Around Kansas sent you over. We have, again, so many things going on this month. The holiday season, of course, is kicking off, and that means lots of travel. So when you are traveling around the state, be sure, of course, to be careful. Watch for deer. I know that we have talked about that before on some of our wildlife segments. But, you know, the deadliest animal we have in Kansas and all over is Bambi, unfortunately. And so, you know, keep your eyes out for deer. Stop at the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center if you get tired and need a cup of coffee to keep you going, need a hot meal, need to fuel up. So just, you know, make sure to make some regular stops along the way. Get out and stretch your legs and wake up and be safe on your travels. And we have so many things that are seasonal, like our friends at the Butterfield Trail Museum are closed for the winter, but at Fort Wallace we are on winter hours, though we're open all year round. We will be on winter hours. So make sure and check some of those sites as you're traveling, and you can figure out which of those small museums you can stop at. It's a great break for you and the kids, again, to get out and stretch your legs and maybe see something that you haven't seen before, and drop a little something in the collection box while you're there. That's always appreciated. Takes a lot to keep these sites going, and I know they much appreciate it. Buy something in the gift shop. By golly, no better place to shop for Christmas than those little gift shops at your local museums and at the Historical Society. And support your local businesses. Local, wherever local is, shop local. Well, we've got a great show for you today. I am so excited to be here with you this morning.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me. Let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.
My name's Karen Cope, and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. After stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before, because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. They all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? Where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
This is going to be a really fun wildlife segment. I was reading the Hutchinson newspaper the other day, the Hutchinson News. Steve Gilliland, his Exploring Kansas Outdoors column. And Steve, of course, is much more of an outdoors authority than I am, but this topic really connected with me. It's all about the Virginia possum. And it started with his talking about language and how one of the popular sayings, apparently I had somehow missed this, not being as cool as Steve is, one of the new sayings instead of cool or sweet is awesome possum. And that just got me thinking about our marsupial friend, the Virginia possum. So I thought that would just make the perfect little wildlife segment. We all encounter possums to some extent, whether dead on the side of the road or in our garbage cans, and they don't always get the respect they deserve. So this little segment is all about the awesome possum, and a very special thank you to my friend Lee Rubin, cartoonist, for contributing to this one.
The lowly possum is actually an incredible creature, officially the Virginia possum, so called by Captain John Smith, who arrived at Jamestown more than 400 years ago. It is a version of the Algonquin word opossum, meaning white animal. As a native Virginian, it brings me some pride. This critter is North America's only marsupial, an animal with a pouch, like a kangaroo or a koala bear. Somehow the possum's press has not been as favorable as its relatives down under. Having been around for at least 70 million years, it is also one of the Earth's longest surviving mammals. The Virginia possum is usually the size of a large house cat, though I have encountered a couple the size of dogs. They are omnivores. They will eat anything, insects, plants, and garbage. The biggest possum I ever saw had to have weighed 25 pounds and was going through my garbage can. When I attempted to shoo him away with a broom, he hissed at me, and I left him to it. My aunt, back home in Virginia, is always chiding me, being critical of possums since they eat ticks and therefore provide a valuable service to mankind. As small as this animal is, it possesses amazing characteristics, like the prehensile tail that allows it to hang from tree branches. Its little paws are almost like hands, with opposable hallux. A hallux is a clawless toe, but it works just like a thumb, allowing the possum to grip branches and other items. Of course, the possum's most famous characteristic is its ability to play dead, or play possum. When threatened, it just rolls into a ball and becomes very still in an attempt to fool its attacker into moving on. This is often successful and is a great life lesson. Sometimes it's best just to be quiet and let the world pass us by. It is also the inspiration for one of my all-time favorite cartoons by my friend cartoonist Lee Rubin. One possum looks down at his friend and says, "You better not be playing because this coffin cost a freaking fortune." Awesome possum. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Corn. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Hi everyone, Rocky Downing. Today on Around Kansas, we sit down and visit with Eric Burks, president of NCK Tech. He talks about the college that some may not know that much about. I was saying that we're going to explain a lot about the college and really dig into what it offers and where it's an option for some people, but because I think a lot of listeners may not know.
Okay.
Part of that, part of the reason I bring that up is because as you gave your Rotary program, you lived a stone's throw from this college.
Right.
You didn't know much about it, right?
I did. My dad graduated from this college, and I did check to make sure that he did graduate. I checked his transcript. He did. Surprising. Smart guy. Just I don't think he was real focused at that point in his life.
Gotcha.
But no, he. But yes, absolutely. I drove by there thousands of times. Unfortunately, I thought of it as the Votech. I mean, that's what a lot of people still refer to it as. I got a lot of stories to talk about that. But so I didn't realize. I knew they built a house. My uncle had worked there. My dad graduated from the electronics program. Didn't really know what that was. People still don't know really what that is sometimes. They know you use electronics, but they don't know what you would learn about them. But I didn't realize until I was invited to come and visit, and I went for an educator day and ate the lunch, which the food there is phenomenal. It's part of the reason why my waistline's out of control. The big thing about it is that the opportunities that exist there for students, and that's what was so important. And that's why I think it's important for people to understand it's a college. I'm going to get that in here right now.
Right.
The distinction, and the VOTEC, I mean, that's the roots. It absolutely was a VOTEC at one time. But the difference is now that it's a college, it's accredited, so those credits will transfer into other colleges. So it's a great building block and stepping stone. If your child wants to go to a 4-year institution or another 2-year institution, these credits will transfer. It's not a dead-end road, but it certainly gives them that skill set that they need. And we train people in, and I'll use the word train instead of educate, but really altogether the same. But the reason it's training is it's so hands-on. They're learning book work, they're in the classroom, but they're actually going out then into the shop, or they're building a house outside. They're going in the shop and actually working on the cars or the tractors or whatever it is. And they're getting their hands dirty, which is a lot of times what kids want to do. They want to know that, how do I apply this? How do I do this? And so that's the number one seller for us, is the fact that it's hands-on. And but they're learning that skill, and then they're going out, and these are skills that are needed anywhere in the world, Rocky, but they're also needed right here in Clay Center. They're needed in Beloit. They're needed in Jewel and Randall, those small little communities. Who doesn't need a plumber? Who doesn't need a person to work on your car, your computer, a nurse, which nursing is one of our largest programs, heavy equipment. There's just all kinds of things. And so, but they're skills that, you can get in a year or two, so you're not having to spend 4 years. And I know for me, the first 2 years I told you kind of about, I didn't know for sure why I was there.
Exactly, yeah.
And these students get started in what they're interested in right away, instead of having to wait 2 years to get into their major. And again, the great thing is they can develop that skill, and then if they decide they want to go get a 4-year degree, and that could be 5 years down the road when they decide, I want to get into management, or it could be right away, they now at least have a skill that they can, if nothing else, help save themselves a lot of money.
No kidding.
My wife wishes I knew a lot of the things that we taught at the college, and we wouldn't have to pay someone else to do it, but also that they can help provide their way and incur less debt going through college, because instead of working minimum wage to referee a bunch of frat games like I did, they're actually going to be able to go out and work for a contractor or work wherever and make, $15-20 an hour while they're going through college, which is definitely going to help them and knock down that debt.
It was a VOTEC to begin, as you said. Is it still trying to break the mold? And as you said, VOTEC is perfect for the right person.
Right.
But you're not a VOTEC.
Right.
And I think still people have that ingrained in their head, don't they?
Right. They absolutely do. This is how deep it runs. I was coaching Little League. I don't know if I told this during Rotary or not, but I was coaching Little League 8-year-old kids, and we were waiting for the head coach to get there, because I wasn't head coach Little League material. So, anyway, so I'm just talking to the kids, and they're like, "Hey, coach, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I work at the technical college." And 8 years old, and they're scratching their head and kicking the dirt a little bit, and they go, "Oh, you mean the VOTEC?"
Oh,
so
wow.
I mean, even at that young age, it's already in their minds. And again, what's in a name? That's what people ask. And it's not the name that bothers me. It's the fact they don't understand the opportunities that exist, and that it's on an equal playing field with any community college. We now teach a lot of the concurrent credits for the high schools around our region, because they transfer right into K-State. My son took NCK Tech credits and transferred into K-State into their engineering program. And so these can go wherever. And I think that's the big thing that people need to understand. We're not ashamed, and we're still teaching technical skills in a hands-on way like they always have. But we are an accredited college. We have to do a lot of work to get that. But more importantly, it's a benefit for that student, that they can carry that forward to that next institution.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm, so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're We're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us on 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
Trust and leadership are critical to success at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center in Manhattan. Just ask Coach Bill Snyder.
People of the Regenerative Center do care about others. I've been highly impressed with those people that have that vested interest and try to help people become better. The center really is a wonderful thing here in Manhattan, first of its kind, and we're on the cutting edge of what lies ahead.
Find out more about the trusted leader in stem cell therapy at kansasrmc.com. Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Economics has been called the dismal science, kind of like the economist who's forecast 10 of the last 5 recessions. I have a lot of friends who are ag economists, and they know that making forecasts is a very risky proposition. One friend of mine says, give them a date or give them a number, but never give them both. When you study economics, you come across, of course, the law of averages, and this poem is called On Average. 2 economists were sitting in a small duck blind, peering across the field where the moonlight shined. These economists' job was to calculate various economic factors all across the state. They were widely known experts who knew economic measures so well that they were considered academic treasures. But they took a break from the numbers front to take part in this annual morning duck hunt. It was quiet all around this field as they waited for trophies that their hunt would yield. Then first light came on this cool gray day, and they heard a lone duck as he flew their way. Both economists fired as the duck flew by. One shot 5 feet low, the other 5 feet high. As the duck flew away, one economist said, well, on average, that darn duck is dead. Happy trails.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Practical, profitable genetics. It's not just a slogan, but our expectation for every Dale Banks bull we market. They won't be a one-trait wonder, but they will offer optimum levels of the most predictable genetics in the industry today. They'll be developed on forage, backed by decades of data, fertility tested, foot scored, and freeze branded. We'll sell 150 yearling and coming 2-year-old bulls in our Practical, Profitable Genetics bull sale on Saturday, November 23rd at the ranch near Eureka, Kansas. For information, call the Perriers at 620-583-4305 or dalebanks.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if you're held liable in any type of accident, the judgment can claim your assets? Please give me a call so we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Supply. This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Good morning, Deb and around Kansas viewers. This morning I want to share the story of a Muskogee Creek leader who led over 10,000 men, women, and children to safety during the American Civil War in Indian Territory. His name was Apatho Yahola, and he was born in Tuckabachie Town in the old Muskogee homeland of Alabama. He made the forced march on the Muskogee's own Trail of Tears. He opposed Indian removal and would stand in opposition to the Muskogee people taking up sides during the American Civil War as well. Hungry, cold, exhausted, terrified. Wintry January winds blew as the refugees trickled in 10 to 20 at a time, until nearly 10,000 men, women, and children had made the dangerous trek from the Indian Territory to the small military post. With hardly enough supplies for the men at the post, Fort Row was not prepared to feed and clothe the followers of Apathoyahala after their flight from the Indian Territory. Dissent amongst the various tribes living in the Indian Territory, a lack of early Union support during the war, and the Union's abandonment of Forts Arbuckle, Washita, and Cobb in 1861 created a power vacuum. For the pro-Confederate tribal factions of the 5 southeastern nations, this was a prime opportunity to seize control and prove their loyalty to Richmond. Not all tribal leaders believed Confederate promises, and old animosities flared amongst tribal factions within the Muskogee Nation. Turning against those Muskogees who supported the Confederacy, Apathoyahala was branded a renegade and an enemy by his own people. Creeks who wished to remain neutral followed his leadership. Doggedly pursued by Confederate troops through the Indian Territory, Apathoyahala and his followers fought a series of running battles as they headed north to the safety of Union-controlled Kansas. In November 1861 at Round Mountain, and in December at Chusto-Talassa and Chustanalaha, Apathoyahala's troops fought against Confederate Muskogee and Cherokee warriors. By December 1861, what was left of Apathoyahala's followers walked to Fort Row. When they arrived, they discovered little food and water and few blankets or supplies. Within 2 months of their arrival, over 250 Muskogees perished. Hundreds of frostbitten, frozen limbs were amputated in order to save their owners. Many of the beleaguered continued to walk until they reached Fort Belmont in search of sustenance. Ironically, many of those men who wished to remain neutral were so incensed by the treatment they received at the hands of their own Muskogee and fellow Cherokee, they walked to Fort Scott, where they would join the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd regiments of the Indian Home Guard, only to return to the Indian Territory to fight to preserve their homes, their families, and their futures. Apathoyahala, sadly, would not live to see the war's end. He died in Kansas in 1863 at the Sac and Fox Agency. He was buried near his daughter, who succumbed to disease earlier. I cannot imagine his anguish at having to watch his young daughter die, only to join her shortly thereafter. Today, his trek for freedom is commemorated along Kansas highways that traverse his route, and the citizens of Fredonia, Kansas, have erected markers and placards that denote the former location of Fort Row. I hope you'll join me in the Bleeding Kansas lecture series in Lecompton, where I will talk about Apathoyahala, the Muskogees, and their flight to freedom. Thanks for watching.
Happy November Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.